Doing Campbell products now through February 8th. Plus, check out our weekly flyer for other great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Tuesday morning, progressives, and welcome to the February 3rd, 2026 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube. You can email me at richard@WCPT820.com, and you can follow me on all the socials, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, Substack, and Spoutable. Just dropped a new post yesterday. So check out what's happening on my socials. You can also catch all of our shows, as usual, by subscribing, guys, to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews. Joan Esposito, the legendary Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, driving it home with Patty Vasquez. And it's the Democracy Stupid with Edwin Eisendrath. Out Chicago on our other shows and interviews. Make your way, of course, over to heartlandsignal.com. You know, I'm really fortunate to hang out with some folks that have legendary broadcast and sort of social impact here in Chicago. You know, we can start with Patty and I are probably we're on the third and fourth rung, but you know, Edwin and Joan they've been their names, particularly Joan in the media space and Edwin in the political space, that are a big part of the successes here in Chicago and the greater, Cook County, Illinois area. So it's always cool to be able to be with them and to work with them. And, there you go. So making your way over to heartlandsignal.com means some really cool stuff, like the tremendous amount of work that our digital platform does, and some great articles that you can share with people, posts that you can share. It's always a good thing to be able to have additional things to provide people in this crazy political space that we're in right now. So make your way over to heartlandsignal.com to share and share alike. Today's show, we've got a wonderful lineup of guests. Sonny Fischer, who is one of the leading voices and distinguished voices when it comes to philanthropy. And she's a co-founder of the National Public Housing Museum. She'll be with us in the 7:30 hour. Also, former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, former Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin, that would be Mandela Barnes, who is also a candidate now for Wisconsin governor. Looking forward to chatting with him in the 7 o'clock hour. And our friend Qasim Rashid, author, activist, human rights attorney, host of Let's Address This on SiriusXM, will be with us in the 7:30 hour. And I always look forward to talking to Qasim because he is unapologetically on point about so many different things. And I'm looking forward to that conversation this morning. But right now, check this out, progressives.
Did you ever wonder why they were so intent on erasing Black history? Book bans, curriculum changes, plaque removal. Well, this is why. Right now, this is it. As quiet as it's kept. They weren't erasing Black history to take something away from Black people. We've always had to be the sole preservers and protectors of our own history. They were erasing Black history to take something away from everyone else. You see, Black history is America's clearest record of sustained resistance to fascism. It is the most uniquely American blueprint for how to beat fascism generation after generation. From Mosey, Florida to Mound Bayou in Mississippi to Lowndes County in Alabama, Black history can tell you point by point, not just what happened, but what's going to happen and how to get out of it. If you feel like you don't know what to do right now, that's valid. But let me recommend a few good places to start. Books, podcasts, documentaries.
Yes, lots of great content that you can find during Black History Month, if you're wondering. Garrison I met him at the DNC, great guy. And that's a post of his on Instagram. So, yes, as I mentioned yesterday, each day this month, I'm going to, each day's broadcast, speak to something about Black history. And it might be a clip like that. It might be other information. I've got a tremendous amount of articles in a relatively decent library. But the thing that going back to Garrison's clip that I want to speak to is this the whole notion that, or the conversation around removing Black history, removing books, etc. Storylines, monuments, designations, people that have served the country in the military. Imagine this. Imagine you serve in the military as a African American, male or female, for 40 years of your life. And then some yahoo like Pete Hegseth comes along and wants to get behind taking down recognitions of service of other Black military leaders and removing them from their well-earned post because of the color of their skin, not because of the lack of qualification and the idea of putting the conversation into something around DEI. It's because, Pete Hegseth couldn't hold a candle to any of these people. But, he's the Secretary of Defense, or he's the appointed lackey of Donald Trump. But when it comes to taking away history, as I said, and I'll say this probably every day this month, it's not just removing Black history, it's removing American history, and the good and the bad, because that's the thing that's interesting. The bad part, the other side of getting rid of monuments and getting rid of books and all of the things that this administration has been pushing to get rid of, is really about getting rid of the shame as well as it is about the recognition. So here's one for you. What is it that is a big part of this Epstein files just horrid show? It's getting rid of the evidence. It's getting rid of the things that are ugly that they did or that they were a part of. Bless you, Devin. It's not about anything positive. It's hiding information. It's protecting themselves. So the other side of getting rid of Black history recognitions and people who have served and people who've done so many wonderful things for the growth of this country is that ugly side of getting rid of the evidence of the destruction that much of white America has caused to Black America. And you could use there's so many examples of when that's happened, and the book 1619 talks in depth about that. Last week, our guest Dante King spoke to that. So, as much as history is as it is an attempt to get rid of things, it's the positive is also getting rid of the evidence of the awful things that have happened during the course of this country. And that's what's happening now when it comes to the Epstein files. But it's a different venue, but it's the same. It's the same ultimate objective, which is to get rid of the evidence. Black history is part of American history. It is American. It's not part of. It is American history. And I think that the reminders have to be there. And Black history for me is every day, 365, 24/7. And it should be for all of the country. We're going to talk a little bit about inventions as the week goes on and as the month goes on. But for now, a shout out to Garrison. We're looking to get him on the show soon. And his posts when it comes to what other communities can learn about the things that the Black community have done and continue to do for not only the country, but for the rest of the world. So for me, Black history is every day here in the United States. It's also every day, should be a part of every day throughout the rest of the globe. So there you go. Let's take a little bit of an early break, Devin. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 here in Chicago, and 1520 AM and 103.5 FM in Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and we'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the midst of World War II, the 200 and 515th Coast Artillery Companies from New Mexico stood resolute against overwhelming odds. Composed largely of Hispanic soldiers, these brave men were stationed in the Philippines, where they faced the brutal onslaught of Japanese forces. Despite their lack of supplies, American and Filipino forces managed to fight the Japanese for 3 months. However, this was not a victory for the American and Filipino forces. As the American Army surrendered in Bataan, the U.S. and Filipino prisoners of war were forced into the infamous Bataan Death March. A grueling 65-mile forced trek under the scorching sun, marked by extreme deprivation and harsh treatment. Sadly, 829 men were never able to return home. New Mexico's veterans of the Bataan Death March are honored each spring with the annual White Sands Bataan Death March Marathon. People from all around the world join together in the desert at the White Sands to participate in the anniversary of one of the most tragic casualties of World War II. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. Couple of quick Choose Views news items. February 3rd, 2026. The Super Bowl favorite Seattle Seahawks could be up for sale soon. Talking about selling high, the Seattle Seahawks could win Super Bowl 50. No, this is 75. 60. Yeah, Super Bowl 60 on Sunday, and then hit the market to be sold, according to the Wall Street Journal. The NFL is pushing a sale to comply with the rules requiring teams to be majority owned by individuals. The late Paul Allen stipulated the sale of his assets as part of a 2018 trust overseen by his sister, Jody Allen. The team told ESPN it's not on the block, but Allen's estate recently sold the NBA's Portland Trail Blazers for $4.2 billion, and the Seahawks could be worth more than $6 billion. So, a little bit of Super Bowl news about the team being sold. So we'll see what happens. The tech job anxieties are growing wider, and the economy stabilizes. Breaking into tech was once seen as a ticket to career stability, but it's now a layoff minefield, and the sector might be headed for a jobs recession, according to the Washington Post. Amazon announced 16,000 cuts last week, on top of the 14,000 from late last year. Pinterest and Meta have also conducted layoffs this year too, and it appears to be that those could increase. Buyers finally regain their edge on the housing market. It's finally a buyer's market again, sort of. Last year, more than 60% of home buyers paid less than the asking price, according to Redfin, snagging the largest discounts in more than a decade. Home sales are still hovering around a 30-year low, but for those buyers who've been able to break through, the moment is a good one. In December, there were 600,000 more sellers than buyers in the U.S. housing market, the biggest gap since 2013. Last but not least, China is banning the concealed EV door handles in a safety push. Regulators yesterday banned hidden door handles in electric vehicles, according to Bloomberg. Multiple deaths have happened as a result of trapped passengers. Under the new rules, which will take effect this month, automakers must include mechanical releases on the inside and outside of all cars sold in China. The first of its kind ruling comes amid heightened security and scrutiny of the flush electronic handles popularized by Tesla, which are a subject of the U.S. safety probe. Okay, what's interesting about that is I get it, why that's the case. If someone is trapped in a vehicle or there's a struggle to get into a vehicle, having a door handle that you can grab does make it a lot easier to try to get that person out of the car. So we'll see where that goes. But it is a safety concern. It's not the first time I've heard about that. But just want to bring that to you this morning. A couple of quick Choose Views news items on this February 3rd, 2026. All right, guys, you heard me talk about this. You know that we broadcast our show, my show on WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM down in Warren County, North Carolina. So along with North Carolina, we've got a fireside chat coming up for my listeners in North Carolina. Don't miss the Building Bridges fireside chat and a free event that I'll be co-hosting with North Carolina Democratic Party Chair Anderson Clayton, Sunday, March 1st, just 2 days before the state's Democratic primary. We'll be joined by North Carolina State Reps Rodney Pierce and Dante Pittman, along with Pastor James Gaillard, who's a candidate for North Carolina State Senate. And hopefully we may have an addition with former Governor Roy Cooper, who's running for U.S. Senate. It's an open conversation with the North Carolina voters. The event takes place at the World Tabernacle Church in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, Sunday, March 1st from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. To register, go to heartlandsignal.com and click on my picture. That'll take you to my show page where you can find out the information you need about the event and a registration link. Or we can text, you would text us, I should say, at 773-763-9278, and we will send you the link. So just want to let you guys know that is an event that we're looking forward to being a co-sponsor and partner of down in North Carolina. How about that for WCPT, people? That's right, building bridges all over the country. So a couple of things that are some current events that I wanted to bring to you this morning. You guys know that we've inched closer when it comes to the numbers in the House of Representatives. And that's a good thing because it's going to give us the ability to kind of get the government on a federal level back to working like it's supposed to work, or work certainly in a better manner than it is right now, which touches all parts of our lives. Obviously, tariffs last year really threw off the ability for so many businesses to plan and have a course of action that they could set and then be able to stay on. It's affecting local communities as it relates to their ability to function when it comes to services, social services, and the like. Because if the businesses in a certain community can't plan, then they certainly can't provide some of the resources that are purchased in their stores and all the rest, whether it be grocery stores or other businesses. So having the ability to put a check on this administration is critically important. So winning back the House, we made a step closer to that with this race down in Texas. That's one thing. In terms of races, we've got the debate on Friday that will be taking place, the WCPT Senate Candidate Forum with Raja Krishnamurthy, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, and Congresswoman Robin Kelly is happening this Friday, February 6th at 1 p.m. I'll be moderating the forum along with Joan Esposito and Patty Vasquez. We'll be broadcasting live here on WCPT and streaming on TuneIn, heartlandsignal.com, and Facebook Live. If you want to attend the event, it's free. There's still a couple of seats available. Visit heartlandsignal.com/forum and register. The seating is very limited, so you can try to grab those last few. And if you're wondering about parking, the forum attendees can use a multi-level parking garage on site and it's just $5 per car. And it's sponsored by the Plumbers Union Local 130 and Iron Workers Union Local 63. But again, it's one of those events that's taking place, and it's one of the things that we're part of, and we want to make sure that you guys are aware and can come and hang out with us and listen to the candidates talk about their positions on a number of items. And Joan and Patty and I will be moderating that event. Governor Pritzker decided to throw an additional amount of money in the campaign for Lieutenant Governor Stratton to the tune of $5 million. And so, it's we talk about money out of politics, and we know that to compete in races, particularly some of the races that are of this magnitude, it takes money. And if it comes from fundraising or if it comes from contributors, we know that it's out there. And I think that that's when I think about another race where there's a lot of money that's going to be thrown at a race, and that's the Michigan Senate race. So you think about these Senate races, and a ton of money is being put toward them. Here in Illinois, we've got three folks that are running for, or three candidates that are running for the seat held by current Senator Dick Durbin, and that, of course, being Raja and Robin Kelly and Juliana Stratton. Lots of money's already been thrown into this race, and there's going to be even more. And of course, with this primary coming up, Michigan, boy, I read some numbers yesterday. The amount of money that's going into that race. Three primary candidates. We've had Mallory McMorrow on. We're looking to get the other two on before they have their primary. But one of the things that's going to be interesting is, Mike Rogers is the Republican, going to be the Republican candidate, and probably will be their nominee. But that's a race that a ton of money is going to be thrown into. So we'll see about having those candidates on. Texas, same thing down there with, Corn in the seat being the competitive one, and Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico being in the fight. And that's a contentious race because those are our Democratic leading candidates, along with Colin Allred. I think that there's some kerfuffling going on now about something that Tallarico said about him being a mediocre black candidate. So they're just getting in trouble as well. Tallarico had kind of stayed out of the fray in terms of saying things that weren't particularly smart things to say or relevant things to say. And so now, he's got that to deal with. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of money that's going to be thrown into these Senate races in three states, here in Illinois, Michigan, and certainly down in Texas. And I can't leave North Carolina out of the conversation. Lots of money is going to be thrown into that race as well. So where am I going with all this? We know that that's a reality in politics today. It just is. And as long as Citizens United is in place, it's going to be a reality. My question is, what's the ceiling? How high will it go? I mean, we've seen numbers, however, how accurate, specifically accurate they are of the amount of money that Musk threw toward Trump's race and Marianne Edelson threw toward Trump. Hundreds of millions of dollars. So, like the Electoral College, campaign finance, if we want to change that, then we've got to change who's in office now to be able to make those changes. We can't change the Electoral College without having the numbers that would foster the legislation to change the Electoral College and then go through the Constitutional Convention to make sure that happens. It's a process, but it's one that, if we want to fix or certainly change, then we got to get people elected so that we then have the people in place to change it. As it relates to campaign finance, same thing is there. We've got to have the people in place, if truly the goal is to change it, that believe that it has to be changed. That's the key. We can have the numbers, but if the wrong people are in place, meaning that they don't have the belief system, then we aren't going to change it. And that's true with any sort of federal legislation. I think a lot of people miss that sometimes when they say, we got to do this, we got to do that. To change those things, we not only have to have the numbers, we have to have the right people that believe that it should be changed. And that's the thing that I try to not caution, but just remind everybody. But that's where we are with these four races: North Carolina, Texas, Illinois, and Michigan. Big Senate races, tip the balance of power. If we win those seats, those four seats, we take back the Senate. In Illinois, we're gonna be keeping a seat. I don't see us not keeping that seat. It's a question of who wins of the three Democrats that are in the race. In the other three states, it's about taking a seat. So we can take those three seats and hold what we have, and pull off some other, possibilities. Then we've got an opportunity. Maine is one of them. So lots of money in these races, but there are many opportunities to win. And the not down ticket, but the impact of that on a local level is one of the reasons why winning the House back is going to give us give us some leverage back, because it'll allow us to, as I said earlier, put a check on this administration, but it'll also allow us to take some of the pressure off of local organizations that in many cases rely on federal dollars indirectly and directly to survive. When we come back from our break, we're going to be talking with Sonny Fischer, who is a distinguished philanthropic leader and really understands the importance of local entities doing great work. So the number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back. WCPT 820 will be hosting a candidate forum for the 3 leading candidates for Illinois' open United States Senate seat in the Democratic primary on February 6th.
Please join us at the Plumbers Hall at 1340 West Washington in Chicago, or listen to the live broadcast.
Representative Raja Krishnamurthy, Representative Robin Kelly, and Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton will be discussing their stances on the issues and making their case for your vote.
WCPT hosts Patty Vasquez, Richard Chu, and of course Jonas Esposito will be moderating the forum.
To attend in person, go to heartlandsignal.com/WCPT820 and register. We'll have limited seats available, so please register early.
Meet the leading Senate Democratic candidates at a free WCPT Live Candidate Forum at Plumbers Union Hall, Local 130 on Washington Street in Chicago, Friday, February 6th.
The forum starts at 1 p.m. and is sponsored by Plumbers Union Local 130 and Iron Workers Local 63.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high in the upper 20s. Winds out of the north around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, a slight chance for some snow here late with increasing cloud cover, a low near 13. By Wednesday, a slight chance for snow early. Skies will become mostly sunny, high around 27. And Thursday, cloudy skies, high around 32 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 18.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Richard Chu's got his eyes on the truth. And you're right where you need to be. This is Choose Views.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. We'll open up the lines now, and if you got a call or a comment or a thought, hit us with it. We'll get you in. We'll do our best to get you in on this morning's broadcast. As I said before the break, we are honored to have one of the very distinguished voices when it comes to philanthropic work and social work, and just making sure that communities have a sense of justice, social justice particularly, and development along the way. I think that development is one of the, when a community is developing and growing, that is one of the most just things that can happen. With us this morning is a leading voice in that space, Sonny Fischer, distinguished cultural activist, and I'll say this respectfully, quite a badass when it comes to the philanthropic world. Sonny, you weren't expecting that, but you are. So welcome to Choose Views on WCPT this morning.
Well, thank you. I think I'll put that on my resume, Richard. Thank you.
That's right. You have to put that on your resume, because, I mean, to do the work that you've done over your career and making sure that justice and development in communities takes place, that's not an easy task. And you've really made it one of your missions in life to be able to do that. Take a moment. Tell our audience a little bit about you, your background. Folks all over the country want to hear about people like you who are doing work on a local level, but that has such a import on a national level. So share with our listeners a little bit about your background, and then we'll talk some specifics about philanthropy.
Sure. Well, I guess I can start by saying that I grew up in public housing. In the Bronx. I was a teacher and a social worker. And then I was lucky enough to meet with a woman named Lucia Woods Lindley, who wanted to start a women's foundation. And because and in the social work that I did, I was working with women in crisis, particularly women who had been sexually assaulted, women who were in domestic violence situations. And I was a counselor and also an advocate for those women, for the change we needed in society. And then so for 9 years, I worked with Lucia, and we also started the Chicago Foundation for Women. And that is about justice. It is about making sure that women have opportunities that they are often don't have just because they're women. And then I started working after the small foundation that I ran called the Sophia Fund, merged with the Chicago Foundation for Women. I started working with Richard Driehaus and consulting for a while in many, many different foundations and nonprofits. And then with Richard had a really interesting vision about what to do with the built environment. And we started a giving program, particularly around landmark preservation and many other issues too. Investigative reporting was a big one, and it still is. I left there in 2013, but one of the things that we also did was to help to start the National Public Housing Museum. And that's I'm still very involved in that. We started in 2006. We opened the building about a year ago in April, and that was one of the best days of my life. It was one of the hardest.
Wow. It's so great to be able to reminisce on one's history. I think that during this Black History Month, or Month of Black History, if you will, reflecting on all of our history as Americans is critically important. And when you can look at something that's been so impactful, like creating a museum that talks about public housing, I think that many people forget that some of the greatest leaders in our country came through our public housing systems and throughout the entire United States of America. That's part of American history, in my opinion. It's not just part of Black history or any other culture, but it's part of American history is public housing, just like public education. If you can, talk a little bit about the integration of public housing and public education and how you see that those being so integral to how our country has grown and prospered.
Yes, and what's really sad is that the word public has become a kind of a dirty word in many when certain people talk about it, that public housing, that public education, that public health is lesser than what we should be able to expect. But in essence, it has been, for me particularly, I went to public schools from the time I was a little kid, and actually we had in the development that I lived in the Bronx, we had a school. Mm-hmm. There was a school for kindergarten, second grade, and some of the best teachers I ever had. And then and I went all through college, to one of the city colleges in New York City. So I am a product of the public. Public libraries were incredibly important in my life. There was a public library at the Eastchester Projects where I lived, and Jerry Goldman, the librarian, was just as important as many of my teachers in my development. And I think that there's a sense that that's what a government should do. It's what my father always said when we moved into public housing, that this is what a government should do. It should take care of its people. And with public education and public schools, that's what democracy is all about as well, that opportunity. That's what we say at the Public Housing Museum. Our mission is to preserve and promote and propel the right of all people to have a place to call home where they can live and prosper. And that's really how we feel about the museum as a public space as well, where we can talk about what a democracy should be, what a government should do for its people.
You know, what's so amazing about that, Sonny, as it relates to not the disconnect, but the sort of looking down on public as something less than or not as good as. I've always said this about the people that come up and come through, those of us that come up through, the public system, whether it be public housing, public education, public health care, and the list goes on. Some of the toughest people with the stiffest spines come out of those environments and have gone on to, like I said, be some of our greatest leaders and greatest thought people and all the rest. So, yeah, there's nothing at all wrong with public. In fact, public's pretty doggone special. So, your work has really been a big part of that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What's sad about that is that, of course, it needs investment.
Right.
And we're seeing this distance. We're seeing the abandonment of public schools and public housing, certainly. And yet we have a crisis in housing. We have a crisis in the schools. And part of that is because there has been a disinvestment and abandonment. Partly because I think of who's in power right now,
mm-hmm.
but also there's a sense that people are responsible for their own well-being rather than having the help that everybody needs. Nobody does it alone. That we need that kind of investment so that everybody can thrive.
One of the things to that point, Sonny, that a lot of people sometimes don't slow down and process about what you just said about working together, helping each other, and no one really does it on their own. We want that there's sort of this, rugged individualism of Western civilization, Western culture in America that, it's the guy riding in on the white horse that saves the, we know how we're built in that space. But let's just take some of the most significant, maybe that's not the right word, some of the wealthiest companies in the country right now. If you let's just say take the top 10 countries in America, every one of them and the leaders of those companies got help. And in most cases, in fact, every case, when I look at those top 10, from our federal government or the state government to be able to do what they're doing. And we can look at Tesla as one of those examples. And we don't need to criticize who, what, when, and where, but they received federal aid to be able to do the things that they've done. Apple, same thing. And the list just goes right on down. Even this craziness that's going on with Paramount and Disney, they all got some form of federal subsidy. Hell, the Bears moving to northwestern Indiana is about the government saying, here's what we'll do to help you make that move, if that were to be the case, or if they were to move to Arlington Heights. So it touches every part of every business, every organization, but the ones that matter most to individual people just get looked past, and to your point, disinvested. And then people wonder, well, why are those public schools failing? Because we're not investing in them. We're not putting in the time to help them be as prosperous as a business would be. Because without strong, smart, well-educated, diverse people, those businesses don't have the human capital to be able to prosper. What are your thoughts there, Sonny?
I completely agree. And then what happens often is that we blame those people for not succeeding, or we blame them for the conditions that public housing, particularly in Chicago, that they had to suffer through. And rather than saying, wait a minute, I often think about what happened during the Depression. During the Depression, we weren't blaming people for being poor. We knew it was systemic. We knew that the Depression was not caused by individuals who really wanted to go to work, but that it was a systemic issue. It was a systemic problem. And then we lost that vision of why people were poor, why people struggled so much. And what happened with public housing too was that there was a terrible disinvestment, and there wasn't enough money anymore to keep the buildings in good shape. And some of the policies that government came up with that really made it harder for people to live there. for a long time. At the same time, and that's one of the reasons that we felt we needed to start the Public Housing Museum. At the same time, there was a tremendous sense of community. And those communities were strong, and they were connected, and they helped each other, as you said. So that one of the things we really wanted to do was to challenge the stereotypes that people had in their heads about who lived in public housing. And you could say that about every public institution, really.
Yeah, without a doubt. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and we're talking with philanthropist Sonny Fischer, who is a distinguished consultant for foundations and nonprofits, as well as activist when it comes to, as I like to say, just getting stuff done on a local level. Because as local thrives and succeeds, then regional and national and global can do the same. And so it's an honor to have you with us this morning, Sonny. Let me ask you a very broad question. What does community mean to you as an individual, but then as part of the work that you do and have done for such a long time?
Community, for me, means that people can get together and get things done together. That to also support each other when they need that kind of support. Also to come up with great ideas and then make them happen. Actually, the reason that the Public Housing Museum exists, as an example, is that Devere Beverly and Bernice Jones decided back in the 90s that they needed a place that would, as they're watching all of their homes being demolished through the plan for transformation, that they needed a place that their children and grandchildren could know how they lived, how and where they lived, and what their lives were like. And so back in the late 90s, they started working with the Housing Authority to start this, to figure out how to make that history not disappear. We're so strong. And their efforts really were the beginnings of making this what we think is the unique museum that everybody should go to. But it's also really remarkable to see how a community came together to make that happen.
Yeah, and the thing that for me, when I think about community, and the reason that I asked you the question is so much of the work that you've done has been about organizing and pulling communities together and then keeping them together. The museum itself, what did it take? I mean, it's obviously something like that. Funding's a big part of it, but just, organizing and bringing people into the conversation. What has it taken? What did it take to have it pulled together, opened, and what is it going to take to continue to have it be a part of our ongoing history?
Blood, sweat, and tears. It took a tremendous amount of effort. And again, it took the community. One of the things that philanthropy has gotten better and better at is saying that nothing about us without us. Mm-hmm. So you have to go to the community to find out what they really need, rather than coming up with some idea and then presenting it to the community and saying, look what we're going to do for you. So together, with philanthropy, with the kind of help that philanthropy can provide through the Richard Driehaus Foundation, we really help to give the beginning money and help. Rich Cahan, who was one of my colleagues, he persuaded us all, yes, let's get involved. And we did, and we took some leadership. Again, I think helped to create a community around it. It took a lot of persuasion, our colleagues, individual donors that we finally managed to bring to the fore. Because originally we saw people saying to us, who the hell would want to go to a public housing museum? Nobody says that anymore.
Wow.
We feel really good about that.
That's great.
But it took this effort. Government, really, I mean, of course, raising the money is still no longer a priority in that administration.
Yeah. Sonny Fischer, it's been great having you with us. I hope you'll be willing to come back and hang out again in the future. We definitely want to talk more about the museum and certainly get a real good handle on how and what we can do to keep the not only the museum moving forward, but also the philanthropic work that you're doing moving forward. Let our listeners know how they can find you, how they can maybe get involved and volunteer with the museum and the work that you're doing.
Sure. Well, go to our website, which is National Public Housing, nphm.org, and you can see a whole list of our programs as well as the exhibits. The tours are just will warm your heart, and especially in these days, the museum, I think, will warm your heart. They're the good news. And we are on 919 South Ada and Taylor Street, and love to have people come and experience it. The museum is free except for the tours, but it's where we say where art and culture meet policy and history. So it's a really important an important public entity. So thank you so much, Richard, for your interest, for inviting me. Enjoyed it a lot.
Absolutely. Sonny Fischer, who is a co-founder of the National Public Housing Museum. You can go to their website, nphm.org, and be able to check out all the great work that they do right here in good old Chicago. We're going to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us, too, in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Did you know GoodRx can help you save on medication, manage prescriptions, and get trusted health information? If you're one of the millions living with a heart condition, check GoodRx for an easier, more affordable way to manage your health. GoodRx offers common heart medications for under $30. Just search for your prescription, find the best price, then show your pharmacist the GoodRx coupon. And it works whether you have insurance or not. To start saving and better manage your heart health, download the free app or visit GoodRx.com today. GoodRx is not insurance but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah, you know, Sonny and the organization are just doing such great work. I mean, again, the website is NPHM, the National Public Housing Museum.org. And, you know, if you, like so many of us, believe in the importance of not just public housing, but as I said, public education, public resources, these are a big part of who we are as a society, part of America. And there's, you know, as Sonny was saying, there's nothing to be, quote unquote, embarrassed about or think lesser than, because you are a product of a public service that's offered by our country, by our cities and states. So, you know, check out the museum. It's here in Chicago. You can go to their website and find out their hours and make your way over there if you are here. And if it's something that you want to contribute to, that's another way for you to be involved. Today on Live, local and progressive Joan Esposito will be taking your calls and talking to Chris Armitage, author of the Existential Republic newsletter on Substack. Illinois Congressman Sean Casten will be with Joan Liz Hernandez, chair of the Democratic Party of Illinois and member of the Illinois House of Representatives, representing the 2nd District. Live, local, and progressive weekdays, 2 to 5 p.m. here on WCPT and heartlandsignal.com, as well as tune in. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by Myra Macias, independent candidate for the 4th Congressional District of Illinois, and Kurt Bankstead, CEO and founder of Minocqua Brewing Company. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT AM 820, Heartland Signal website, tune in, YouTube, and Facebook. Tomorrow's show, Wednesday on Choose Views, my guests are Kristen Kroll, the executive director of Fair Share America. Choose Views contributor Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63, and Lavora Barnes, political director of Democracy Defenders Fund and former chair of the Michigan Democratic Party. So that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. That's what Joan and Patty are going to be doing today. So check out their shows. Make sure you stay tuned in. And also catch all of our podcasts that are featured here at the Heartland Signal website. A couple other items that have popped up in the last day or so. And Qasim Rashid and I will probably talk a little bit about this. And that's that Bill and Hillary Clinton are going to, they've decided to testify. I want to find out more details about that. But Qasim and I will talk about that in the 7:30 hour. The point I made earlier about the House and the Senate on a federal level, and the fact that we're very, very close to regaining certain levels and levers of power, that we're in this election year now. We know that the midterms are still, 9 months away, but it is not a time to take our foot off the gas pedal on any of the elections, the special elections, and now that we're getting closer to some of the primaries, we can't take our feet off the gas. And it ranges from everything, anything and everything that we are fighting for. And I forgot about the race in Ohio, Sherrod Brown. So I can't forget that. That's a big one as well. We've got so many big races, Senate races, that we can win. So we got to hold the seats that we have and pick up 3, 4, 5 seats along the way. And let me put it this way. Taking back the House and taking back the Senate, that's what America should be looking at doing right now. Because if you are a person that voted for what you say you didn't vote, you didn't vote for this in terms of where we are as a country, maybe you didn't vote for it. Maybe in your mind, I'll give you a little bit of a berth. Maybe you thought, but wherever you are in that space, for those people that might be, as Mike Nellis talked about, those folks that are the independents, and I said in the middle, that maybe they didn't think that this is what was going to happen, even though we told you it would. It's your responsibility to get in the fight and fix it, or to help fix it. So admit that this is not, bless you, what you wanted, what you thought. And maybe you are that person that just was looking at it from a different lens. You convinced yourself that you were. And I know I'm giving a huge amount of fairway here. So if that's the case, then use a golf analogy, hit a recovery shot and get back on track. Don't try to go for the green. Don't try to make some heroic move and say, well, I'm not, I'm too proud to acknowledge that you made a mistake. Just get back and put the ball back in play and move forward. Take your lumps and get back on track. Republicans, independents who voted this way that are now saying, this is not what I wanted, what I voted for, or as I look at it, you convinced yourself that it wasn't. You're going to be part of the solution so that Democrats can be back in power to fix some of the garbage that you've been a participant in causing and now allowing to happen. So that's why it's important. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. Donald Trump has implemented a barbaric anti-immigration policy with mass deportations and having ICE agents showing up unannounced at people's homes, workplaces, and anywhere they suspect, separating families, ruining lives, and deporting people without any due process. But one company is taking a stand against Donald Trump. Greyhound Bus Lines has implemented a no warrant, no boarding policy. This prohibits ICE agents to enter the vehicle without a warrant. Greyhound Bus says they want to guarantee the rights and civil liberties of their passengers. Greyhound Bus is the largest inner-city bus system in the U.S., with over 1,600 destinations. Maybe this will lead to more companies stepping up like Greyhound is. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction or your money back. File in the Credit Karma app.
Save big money at Menards and stock up on your favorite Procter & Gamble products. We carry quality products from brands you can trust, like Dawn, Tide, Bounty, and more. Keep your home clean and stocked with essentials like paper towels, toilet paper, dish soap, and more. Save big money on Procter & Gamble products now through February 8th. Plus, check out our weekly flyer for other great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high in the upper 20s. Winds out of the north around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, a slight chance for some snow here late with increasing cloud cover, a low near 13. By Wednesday, a slight chance for snow early. Skies will become mostly sunny, high around 27. And Thursday, cloudy skies, high around 32 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 19.
NBC News Radio, I'm Michael Kastner. President Trump is welcoming the Colombian president to the White House today. More from Mark Mayfield.
Trump said he'll discuss the flow of drugs coming from the region with Colombia's President Gustavo Petro at the White House.
I look forward to seeing him. He's coming in. We're going to be talking about drugs because tremendous amounts of drugs come out of his country.
On Monday, Trump told reporters he expects a good talk. He noted that Petro has been critical of him in the past, but said he has changed his tune after the U.S. operation to oust former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro.
Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says body cams will be issued to immigration agents in Minneapolis. Noem took to X Monday to make the announcement, saying that as funding is available, it will also be expanded nationwide, adding that it is in the interest of transparency. Investigators believe the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie was abducted from her Arizona home against her will. The Pima County Sheriff's Department made the announcement Monday night, saying they believe 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie may have been kidnapped as she was last seen late Saturday night in Tucson's Catalina Foothills area.
What this one was when I got the advisory that this 84-year-old lady was missing from her residence, there was something else there that didn't click.
She was reported missing by family members about noon on Sunday. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nano says that Guthrie is of very good sound mind but needs her daily medication to survive. Nanos previously described Guthrie's home as a crime scene. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is expected to meet with senior leaders in Israel ahead of possible talks with Iran's foreign minister later this week. More from Blake Sifton.
Israeli officials are reportedly concerned that the U.S. could focus on a nuclear deal with Tehran that doesn't include limits on Iran's ballistic missile capabilities and support for proxy forces like Hezbollah and the Houthis.
Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
Horwitz and Associates. Cliff Horwitz's grandfather started this family law firm, and he always said, you know what, if we're going to get full justice for our clients, we have to go to trial. Trial, though, can be very time-consuming, and that's why most firms won't go to trial. They just settle for the insurance company's offer. But the Horwitz family spent a century going to trial. They're taking cases to trial now, and they're winning many record-setting verdicts. Cliff Horwitz is a third-generation trial lawyer, getting people the full justice they deserve. Call 312-800-8000 or go to horwitzlaw.com.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show, 773-763-9278. Again, keep in mind that on Friday, this coming Friday, February 6th at 1 p.m., we'll be moderating, Joan Esposito, Patty Vasquez, and I will be moderating the Illinois Senate candidate forum. Raja Krishnamurthy, Congressman, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, and Congresswoman Robin Kelly will be there, and it's going to be at the Plumbers Union Local and Union Workers Local 63 that's located here in Chicago. So looking forward to you guys being there. Come on out. Go to our website because that way you can get the information on attending. There's still a few seats that are available. I say it all the time, and I'll keep saying it because it's the truth. We have one hell of a bench when it comes to the folks that are running for office, whether it be a local office, whether it be a state office, statewide office, or federal. And one of those folks has got a proven track record of winning and knowing how to get it done on a statewide basis, and is a voice that many people throughout the country know what he stands for. But we're fortunate this morning to have former Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin with us, and the 2026 candidate for Wisconsin governor, none other than Mandela Barnes on Choose Views. Good morning, Lieutenant Governor, and welcome to the show this morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. I don't run away from what I think is important, and that is we do have a strong bench of folks on our team, if you will, and folks like you who are running, who've already been in office, that understand what it takes to get through a primary season and then onto a general election to win. And you're one of those voices right now. You got to stack's not the right word. You got a quote unquote crowded field and all that when you've got a number of people that are running for Wisconsin governor. But talk a little bit about your background, being lieutenant governor, and now making this next move onto becoming one of the leading governors for one of the leading states in the country.
For sure. I appreciate you. It is a crowded primary. Got a lot of friends. I respect everybody who's running. And it's a healthy sign for democracy, to be quite honest, when people are stepping up to run. And I say healthy democracy at a time when we need a healthy democracy. So I think this is proof that it can work. We just have to execute with a plan, with a vision. And I can tell you my experience is what I'm bringing to this race. But also, when I say experience, I mean in terms of knowing that we are in a broken system right now, and we have to reject the status quo to actually get things done. And, this is very evident in my time as a state legislator, my time even as lieutenant governor, recognizing how broken, how messed up things were, more specifically because of our, radical Republicans in the legislature who have been making life more difficult for people. And now, we find ourselves in this very critical moment in this country and in this state. We are in need of leadership. And that leadership, one, has to be bold enough to stand up to Donald Trump, to say that, yes, we are going to make the wealthy pay their fair share. Yes, we are going to fight for opportunity for every community in this state and in this country, but also a vision more broadly that goes beyond the next 5 years, that goes beyond the next 10 years. We have to have a vision for the future because the outlook is bleak for a lot of young people. They don't see a place for themselves in this economy. They don't see a place for themselves, even in this country, to live comfortably. And that's very unfortunate because we got the wealthiest individuals in America, in the world, who have been making money hand over fist. They always say, don't put all your eggs in one basket, but it's like we're giving all of our eggs to one basket or just a few baskets. The wealthiest companies in the entire world, local governments rushed to give companies like Amazon these tax credits to make it more attractive. And what do? They slash 9% of their workforce to move to AI. That is one of the biggest examples of how broken this system is something we have to fix to lower costs for people immediately.
You know, Lieutenant Governor, one of the things I just had on before you, a woman named Sunny Fischer, who's a philanthropic leader and consultant here in Chicago, and just opened up the public housing museum here in Chicago. And we talked about the amount of times people denigrate public housing, public education, public resources, and the like. But I can't think. Schools, right? I can't think of the top 10 business in America, of the top 10 businesses in America, that didn't, if not during their inception or along the way, receive some public assistance. And you just said with regard to just tax breaks, for an example, or tax abatements, for that business to be able to not only survive, but to thrive. And so right now that has been turned on its head, and entities, and it's not the first time, this has been going on since the beginning of this country, entities, businesses get credit for being great, but not recognizing their greatness comes from the everyday person making sacrifices so that business can actually survive and thrive. So it's nice to hear that you recognize that and haven't forgotten that, and part of your platform is to make sure that everyday folk, and it's not, this is the thing that's interesting, Lieutenant Governor, it's not rocket science. Corporations can help by simply changing how they're structured when it comes to their income and how they distribute some of their profits to their employees. It starts right there. Exactly. Pay people more money. I always say when people talk about things are too expensive or can't be afforded, change how we compensate people. That's an easy one. It's really not difficult for businesses to do that. How are you gonna? I mean, are you gonna come in with the sledgehammer, so to speak? That's my word, and say to businesses, y'all got to do more.
Yeah, and so the thing of, let me go back to, because you talked about, the public resources, the public dime that went into making some of these, large profitable companies what they are today. Also think about research and development grants that go into, big pharma, right? And they get to charge whatever they want for these drugs, and they wouldn't have been able to do that research without public dollars. Think about university systems and the folks that they produce. You will want to put more money through a tax base into your university system. Wisconsin, unfortunately, funds our university system at one of the lowest rates in the entire country. And our public schools, like, you want to have people with the experience who are ready to participate in the workforce. But to the point, though, made it very clear that the wealthy will pay their fair share. We are going to change the incentive structures that allow the wealthiest companies to get away with paying, effectively, as much as a teacher, the same tax rate. That's just not fair. Not in the time where people are spending every single dime they have just to survive, every dime they have just to keep food on the table, and people are buying their second and third yachts. We got to switch it up. We got to fix that. And in Wisconsin, we have the agriculture manufacturing tax credit, one of the most perfectly named tax credits for a state like Wisconsin. But unfortunately, much of that incentive has gone to, large companies, out-of-state corporations, the wealthiest individuals. We need to reform that so that the bulk of that break goes to our family farmers and our small businesses.
How do you do that? I mean, so look, two questions. And I'm sorry for that, Lieutenant Governor. One, how did that happen? And then two, as governor, how are you going to go about fixing that?
Well, a lot of things have a good name, but aren't great in practice. So I won't say how did it do that. It's not like it was, it designed with the best intentions. But this race is not just about me running for governor. It's about changing the makeup of the legislature. This is about bringing about a majority in the assembly and a majority in the Senate. And with a new legislature comes new opportunities for Wisconsin. And I have good reason to believe the legislature will look a lot different come January 2027. And with that being said, we have to govern with a focus, and we have to govern with a purpose. Unfortunately, that hasn't always been the case. As Democrats, we've run away from power. We've been afraid to actually be bold and do things for people and to actually fight. And because of it, we haven't had a majority in Wisconsin in like 15 years. And so with that being said, showing up, actually more than 50. It was 2009 was the last time. I guess it ended in 2011, so 15 years. We haven't had a majority. Well, we have to give people a reason for us to have a majority. And when we get it, we have to ensure people that they made the right decision by casting a vote for us. And that just hasn't always been the case. People are always left wanting for more. And we're going to have to get to work right away. We are talking about a generation of work to do. A generation of work to do, and we have to act as if we have only 4 years to do it. But I guarantee you, if we show up and truly get that work done, we'll have much more than 4 years to do it. But we can't just be sitting worrying about, oh, well, I get reelected for this if I do this. Well, I'll get reelected if I do that. Do the work. Do the work. And it's not like we're talking about wild ideas that are, supported by like 15% of people. We're talking about overwhelmingly positive things: increasing wages, holding the powerful accountable, making the wealthy pay their fair share, expanding healthcare. These things are incredibly popular across the board and across partisan lines.
One of the things that when we hear many people, yourself included, say things that are they're accurate in terms of corporations paying their fair share. I think that a lot of times the pushback that people think that's going to take place is that corporations are going to suddenly be gutted and have to pay this tremendous amount of additional money that's then going to hurt that business and not allow that business to be able to go forward. And the reality is that's so far from the truth. Fair share is tomorrow we have Kristen Kroll on from Fair Share America. And it's fair share is the key. Those are the key words. They're not, meaning corporations paying their fair share as it relates to people who are, like you said a moment ago, hardworking, mid 5 to 6 figure incomes and still struggling. And so the fair share part is that the corporations are not paying a number or percentage that is equivalent at best, or I should say at worst, to what an everyday working person is paying when it comes to the income of that business. So I appreciate you, reminding us that them paying their fair share is the bare minimum.
And one more point on that too is, no tax breaks for companies that are outsourcing AI.
Right.
Or shipping jobs overseas.
I don't know if you saw the report, not to interrupt you, but just to compliment what you're saying about younger folks are now, Gen Z is the age demographic and generation that's projected to have the least benefit from AI versus some of the, older folks, older than you and closer to my age. So, yeah, if companies are exporting jobs out of the community or certainly out of the state or out of the country or transitioning them to AI at a rate that doesn't replace those opportunities, then where are those dollars really going?
Exactly. There's that. And then there's also, the track of CEO pay versus average worker salary.
Yeah, which is absolutely completely off the rails. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and guess who we're talking to? Mandela Barnes, Lieutenant Governor, former Lieutenant Governor, who's running for governor of the great state of Wisconsin, our neighboring state, our shoulder, our cousins to the north right now. Yeah. Lieutenant Governor, let me get into a local issue. Badger Care. Where are you landing on the conversation around Badger Care, which is a Wisconsin item?
Yeah, that's our Medicaid program. And Wisconsin is one of 10 states that has yet to expand our Medicaid program under the Affordable Care Act. And this was a fight back when I was in the state assembly in 2013. And we had, again, a governor at that point who was unwilling to budge because he had ambitions to run for president. It was a very short-lived presidential campaign. And we had a legislature that was and remains to be incredibly what people are in desperate need of. Healthcare costs are continuing to rise. We also have, Tom Tiffany, who was in the legislature at the same time that I was, who refused to expand Badger Care, is serving in Congress right now who voted against extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits, and he is the Republican nominee for governor. He was endorsed by Donald Trump, and we know exactly why. But Badger Care is a day one priority for me, simply because of the immediate cost care. There are at least 82,000 people who would benefit immediately from expanding Badger Care. We also need to open the doors and create a public option so that people can buy in. So many people have left the market in Wisconsin, so many healthcare providers, and when there is very little competition, whatever they want.
Yeah. Lieutenant Governor, we're going to take a tiny little break. Sit tight. We'll be right back. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Lieutenant Governor and candidate for governor of Wisconsin, Mandela Barnes. We'll be right back.
Interested in debt-free education? It's one benefit of apprenticeship with Plumbers Local 130 UA of the greater Chicagoland area. These days, high school seniors need to rethink going to a four-year college and creating debt with no plan in sight. Students and their parents need to think about learning a trade that pays you to learn and create a career. Being part of Plumbers Local Union 130 UA achieves those goals. As an apprentice, you receive great wages, great benefits, including medical, dental, prescription drug, vision, and hearing. No college debt, 2 pensions, and access to union wellness centers and eye care with 0 deductibles and 0 copays. Admission to the Plumbing Apprenticeship Program ends February 13th or with the first 2,000 submissions. Applicants have to be 18 years old and have a high school diploma or a GED certificate. See the full list of requirements and qualifications and apply for your future now at apply.jac130.org.
Driving it home with Patty Vasquez.
John Fugelsang joins us. Oh my God, John, I need you so badly. I need your humor. I need your brilliance.
I want to thank you for all you're doing because CPT is like this incredible beating heart of progressive talk radio. And my first time at your studios was in, I think, 2012. And I just can't believe that how CPT keeps rolling and keeps inspiring. I give you credit for the Pope.
I'll take that, even if he is a Sox fan. We'll take it.
Patty Vasquez, weeknights 5 to 7 on WCPT 820.
The family meeting.
We almost still have no choice but to vote because the other evil is really, really evil, right? Where some folks are just like, my life doesn't really change because, it's not going to really be that bad for me. No matter who wins, my life goes on. But if this other one wins and he's targeting certain groups, if I'm in that group, I'm screwed.
Yeah. Sundays 4 to 6 p.m., The Family Meeting.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the midst of World War II, a group of Native American soldiers known as the Code Talkers became silent heroes. The U.S. military faced challenge of secure communications on the battlefield, and these men, primarily from the Navajo tribe, were enlisted to develop an unbreakable code. Using their native language, which had no written alphabet, they transmitted vital messages that were indecipherable to enemy forces. The code proved to be an essential asset, particularly in the Pacific Theater, where it helped the Allies win crucial battles. The Code Talkers' courage and ingenuity saved countless lives and turned the tide of the war. Yet, their contributions remained largely unknown until decades later. The legacy of the Code Talkers stands as a testament to the strength, resilience, and invaluable service of Native Americans during one of America's most devastating conflicts. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Welcome back to the show, 773-763-9278. We are talking with Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin, Mandela Barnes, who is now candidate running for that governor's seat. Lieutenant Governor, you are in a quote-unquote crowded field, bunch of friends. Everybody's going to be fighting to get to the top of the top of the line, or front of the line, and that's a good thing. Steel sharpens steel, as the phrase goes, because you're going to then be going up against this dude, Tom Tiffany, who's a rubber stamp for Donald Trump. I mean, he just has been, as so many Republicans have been. They're just rubber stamps. We saw that Trump's sway down in Texas recently, just literally, may not be as robust as it has been. And we've seen other races in the country that are state races and some of the special elections where that luster is properly tarnished. But if you're the person that's going up against Tiffany, what are you going to hit him with?
Well, I can tell you, Donald Trump is deeply unpopular, and for a person to rush to not just beg for his support, but to embrace his support shows how out of touch Tom Tiffany is with the people of Wisconsin. And look, his record speaks for himself. He's a person who's consistently voted against the interests of the people he already represents. Mm-hmm. And if there has been this level of dismissal of lived reality and lack of opportunity and struggle that people are experiencing, you can only imagine how difficult a time it will be for the entire state if he becomes governor. So one, he's incredibly out of touch. Two, he's a person who has voted to raise people's costs at a time when they need relief, at a time when we're all paying more for every single thing. This is a person who's taken more time to play politics, serving the interests of the president and wealthy donors, while working class people continue to be dealt a bad hand. He was, there. He was in the legislature when they took away collective bargaining rights for public sector employees. He was there when, it took away rights of all working people. And at a time where working families need a voice, at a time where working people need someone who is going to stand up and fight for them in the halls of power, he has shown that he is going to do the exact opposite. My track record shows that I've always and will always stand for working class values, working class people. I was out marching around the Capitol in 2011 when we had the former governor, when Tom Tiffany was in the legislature making life hard for people. And this is going to be a testament to the power of giving working people voice and giving working people opportunity.
It doesn't fall on deaf ears that your previous Republican governor or your last Republican governor was really just a wrecking ball for not just the state of Wisconsin, but in some ways it kind of created a path for other governors to be wrecking balls in other states in terms of the things that he did and that he legislated for. So having the current governor and you as lieutenant governor, former lieutenant governor, do the things that, we've needed. It's been important, not just to the state of Wisconsin, but neighboring states and the rest of the country. So, we need that kind of leadership again. It's Black History Month. As we wrap up, let's talk a little bit about that as it relates to politics right now and to the attempt by, and in some people would say successful effort by this administration, not just the president, to tear away at Black success in this country, which I say, and I know you say your versions of it, Black history is American history. It's nothing other than that. So it's 365 for me. But let's talk about this month, Black History Month, and let's talk about Black history on a national level as it relates to what this administration is trying to do.
Well, you mentioned, but even the National Museum of African American History, it couldn't be more blatant, the attacks, not just on Black history, but, Black existence from Donald Trump. And these attacks are just like, I think about how structural these things are, where it's like, you don't even have to, or there have been people in the past who didn't necessarily or weren't necessarily as explicit as this president has been. And that's the part that, is giving me pause right now. It's like, he's so explicit. He doesn't care about destabilizing or tarnishing Black history in this country. But even from a policy perspective, whether it is healthcare, knowing that, Black people in this country have dealt with some of the worst health disparities, and lack of access to healthcare is only going to make that worse.
Yeah.
Go
ahead. I'm sorry. No, you go.
I'm just saying, the economic opportunity for, Black people in this country, we still have a long way to go. And we have a president who will stand firmly in the way of people getting to a point that they have worked so hard for, or a point that they have earned, or people that have tried so hard. And for this to be from the highest office in the land is one of the toughest parts. It was a point where you might get, some crazy congressman here or there, some crazy senator, but it's the president right now.
Yeah. And it's all his not only his minion, but his business partners, and literally, I mean, businesses that have partnered with this administration, this regime. So we have to be willing to fight. I say this pretty much every day, Lieutenant Governor, that if we truly believe, the litmus test is if people really do believe in preserving democracy, if they really do, then it's going to take a whole hell of a lot of work to change, to reset where we are on a local, state, and federal level, because it's not only that democracy is at risk, and Mayor Brandon Johnson here in Chicago is the one that, has said this the most, and that is our democracy and our dignity that we've got to take back. And I just want to get your thoughts on that as we wrap up today.
Well, for sure. And I appreciate his words, because our democracy, or a democracy, means that everybody has a fighting chance. Everybody participates. Everybody is involved. Everybody is a part of the decision-making process. And the other part about that, too, is the decision should benefit all, should benefit everybody. But that has not been the case. I mean, I'm not going to just act like this is new based on Donald Trump, but he certainly made it so much worse. And he certainly pitted people against one another, pitted communities against one another. It's how he ascended to the presidency, dividing communities. And that is why fighting for not just our democracy, but fighting for our dignity matters, because he's a person who will demean anybody on an individual level. But if you look deeper and you analyze his policy positions, his policy making, it has sought to take away the dignity of not just individuals, but entire communities, entire cultures, making people feel less than, and making people feel as if their neighbors are others. And that is dangerous for democracy. It is dangerous for society itself. It is very difficult to see a way out of this, but I can tell you that through organizing, by showing up, and by recognizing that we as individuals are more powerful, that we as individuals can still not just survive, but thrive in spite of a president who wants to see otherwise, knowing that, this one year of his presidency has been hell on earth. There are 3 years to go. And I hate when people say we've been through this before and survived, because some people literally just didn't survive, the first Trump presidency. And so this is going to take those people who are in power, who have positions, who have a bully pulpit, who have influence, who have wealth and resources, the people who've been letting Donald Trump get away with everything. This is time for people to band together across racial lines, across lines of religion, across lines of class for that matter, because I hope people realize that nobody is safe from this president.
Yeah.
The president is waging war on institutions and individuals that seemed invincible, and he will stop at nothing. He will use the full power of the federal government to go after you if you dare oppose him. So in order to keep yourself safe, even if you are one of those more wealthy, more powerful people, comparatively speaking, if you draw the president's ire, who's going to be there for you?
Exactly. That's no words have been better stated in that. No one is necessarily outside of the ire that he might turn on them if he chooses to, because he's not getting what he wants, or that person opposes him. So I appreciate you stating it that way. Lieutenant Governor, we got to bounce, but it's been great having you on the show this morning. We will do this again. And in the meantime, though, I'd like you to let folks know how they can follow you, find you, get involved in your campaign if they choose to do so.
For sure. Thanks so much for having me on, and already looking forward to coming back. For folks who are listening, you can check out MandelaBarnes.com. That is the website, the other Mandela on social media.
Fantastic. Mandela Barnes, candidate for governor of the great state of Wisconsin. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. We will talk with you soon. Stay safe. And as I've been saying recently, as warm as you can, given how cold it is.
As warm as you can.
Thanks for being with us this morning, sir. We appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you. See you soon.
All right. Bye-bye. Let's take a quick break, Dev. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Hey Chicago, Joe Fontana here, founder of Fry the Coop. At Fry the Coop, we serve the best chicken sandwiches in the world. And no, that's not an opinion, that's a fact my taste buds personally signed off on. At Fry the Coop, we hand bread every single piece of chicken, double fry it in 100% beef tallow, and we hit it with our secret Fry the Coop spice rub like it owes us money. The result? A Fry the Coop sandwich so crunchy, juicy, spicy, sweet, salty, and savory, it feels illegal. Fry the Coop has a one-of-a-kind sandwich that makes your taste buds high-five each other. Don't like it? No problem. We guarantee happiness or your money back. But don't worry, you're not going to need it. We now have 10 Fry the Coop locations around the Chicagoland area. So no matter where you're at, there's a good chance there's a Fry the Coop 15 minutes away. And we're a local Chicago company, born and bred, for the people, by the people. So come down and support your local boys and get the best chicken sandwich in the world. Right here in Chicago, right here at Fry the Coop.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies become mostly sunny here for today. We'll see a high into the upper 20s. Winds out of the north around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, a slight chance for some snow here late with increasing cloud cover, a low near 13. By Wednesday, a slight chance for snow early. Skies will become mostly sunny, high around 27. And Thursday, cloudy skies, high around 32 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 19.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Welcome back for sure, guys. Thanks for being with us this morning. Thanks to Sonny Fischer for hanging out with us this morning, philanthropic leader and founder of the Public Housing Museum here in Chicago, as well as Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, who's running for governor in Wisconsin. And as I said this morning, I'm excited about our next guest because he is unfiltered, unapologetic, but spot on. And that's a dangerous combination, to be right about the things that you say and be unapologetic about saying them. I'm talking about my man, activist, human rights lawyer, host of the SiriusXM show, Let's Address This, Qasim Rashid. Good morning, Qasim, and I'm going to start calling you Q in honor of the late Quincy Jones. Welcome, man. How are you this morning?
It's good to be back, my brother. How are you?
I am doing great. I say that in the face of the craziness that we're all dealing with right now, and I'm doing great though, because I have to be that way and stay focused and stay positive about where we've got to go. Lieutenant Governor Barnes has said that we have to stay in this fight. We can't let up. Yep. And you've been doing that so well. And I thought about you the other day. I saw one of your posts, and I knew that we're going to have you on the show this morning. But it's been crazy. The first month of the year has been just a hellscape in so many ways. And there's so much to talk about, so I'm just going to kind of get right to it. The big question that I have for you right at this precise moment is, as it relates to stopping ICE, as it relates to really kind of pushing back on ICE right now, because they've shown to be not just ineffective, but literally deadly problematic to the country. Wherever they go, people die. So Congress has power to affect that right now. Do you think, based on the mix, I think, what are we at, 214 to 218, given the race that just took place down in Texas, do you think that there's going to be enough in Congress, in the House and the Senate, to say, no, we can't keep doing this? Or are we going to still be tiptoeing around it?
I'm the first one to be critical of corporate Dems. I will give credit where due. I'm glad that they separated DHS funding from this appropriations bill vote coming up to avert government shutdown. Gives them another 2 weeks. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see Schumer fold once more and let the funding go through. But the answer at this point needs to be explicitly clear to abolish that funding, to abolish ICE. And I think what folks need to understand is that this organization is acting with impunity, not as a rogue organization, but with empowerment from the Department of Justice and from the White House directly. And it's going to get far worse over this summer. There's just no doubt about it. A federal judge fortunately just blocked the Trump regime from stripping the documented status of 350,000 Haitian Americans. But understand that this is how this regime is working. They will say, we're only here to go after people who are here illegally. And then they'll strip documented status from hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people and say, oh, look, they're here illegally, ignoring the fact that they're the ones who made them undocumented. These are people who did everything right. And so my view is that while Congress certainly has the power, I have very little faith that they will actually act upon that power. And we as people need to continue to stay active and organized to take back that power.
I appreciate what you said about it's only going to get worse. I said that I said this back in December, that once we get into 2026 with all that's on the table, that he and the rest of the regime and minion and the entire GOP would ramp up their intensity in terms of things they're going to do and allow to be done. So that's why I wanted to ask what you thought about what congressional powers are going to actually be exercised to slow this train down. And you know, I'm confident. Maybe that confidence is not the right word, Qasim, but I'm certainly inspired by the elections that have taken place since November, and certainly these most recent ones, and we're getting closer and closer. But we cannot take a breath right now. I know it kind of stinks to say that, but if we, as I phrase this, really do believe in this democracy and reestablishing humanity and dignity, we got to talk about it every day and in every conversation that we have. Because right now, to me, that's the most important thing that we've got to be able to hold on and fight for.
Yeah, the way I frame it, it's living the dream, fighting the nightmare. In that we are fighting a nightmare, but I'm exactly where I want to be in this moment right now, and that is at the forefront, doing whatever I can. I was in Minnesota a few weeks ago. I've been all over the country fighting back against these ICE fascists. And look, this is where I want folks to kind of reflect on history. We remember the days of Dr. King and the Montgomery bus boycott, of Claudette Colvin and Rosa Parks refusing to get up, of Robert Smalls, of Malcolm X by any means necessary. The list just goes on and on. And we kind of romanticize these days that, man, how great would it have been if I could be there marching next to Dr. King or standing with Malcolm saying by any. This is that moment.
This is that moment right now.
We have one advantage, and that advantage is that we have their shoulders to stand on. We have their example to follow. So my advice to folks out there who are angry and frustrated is that recognize that anger and frustration is because you have a heart. It's because you have compassion for your fellow neighbor. And it's extraordinarily important and cathartic that you channel that anger and that rage into community organizing with the people doing the work, because I promise you there's no better antidote to that anger and frustration than to see yourself and your neighbors lift each other up. That's what I saw in Minnesota, and I think that's what we need to do nationwide.
You know, Qasim, thank you for that. And there's a little bit of selfish plug here. I'm so thankful that somebody else is saying that, and I'm not the crazy one in the room when it comes to standing on the shoulders of these badasses. I mean, some stone cold, serious civil rights fighters, and then recognizing the moment, right? We don't need something else. It's right here in front of us right now. And it is true that the energy from those leaders, those fighters, is something that we can draw on. It can be an addition to the moment when somebody might feel a little bit weak or a little bit tired, or a little bit frustrated, is to recognize, to your point, we have the advantage of what they've already done for us, and let us not forget that. So
that's right. And part of it too is also reframing the narrative. We often kind of work within the parameters given to us, but we forget that we don't have to work within these parameters. It's Black History Month, so here's a lesson for the listeners out there who may not have heard of a woman named Elizabeth Freeman, a Black woman in Massachusetts. You know who I'm talking about. A century before the Civil War, realized that the Massachusetts state constitution says that all people are created equal, and said, wait a minute, I'm a person. She successfully found a white abolitionist lawyer and sued for her freedom, and led single-handedly to the abolishment of slavery in Massachusetts and then in the northern states permanently. This was because a woman said, hold on a second, Black people are enslaved, but I reject this framing and this narrative. I'm going to use a legal means that no one has thought of before, and history was made. This is a century before the Civil War. And so for those, again, out there right now, recognize that we have these giants to stand on and learn their lessons from history and apply that to 2026 America, because we need every single bit of you to be on board.
Without a doubt. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with our good friend Qasim Rashid, who is human rights lawyer, host of the SiriusXM show, Let's Address This. Black History Month is American history. Black history is American history. And I've said that for years. And you've been one to speak to it. You had this just wonderful breakdown. A couple things that I want to share real quickly, and then we'll talk about them. Black History Month, remember, human trafficking was legal. Slavery was legal. Jim Crow was legal. U.S. government paying reparations to white enslavers and not to enslaved was legal. Prison slavery is still legal. Lesson, do not let legality and power be a measure of morality and justice. Man, Dr. King would be proud. He'd be proud of it.
I would hope so. I mean, I would hope. No, but that's the intro to my article that I wrote to kick off Black History Month. And in the article, I go on to specifically address non-Black people. And I point out we have a responsibility this month and every month to do at least two things. One is listen to the wisdom and the voices of Black civil rights leaders. I talked about Dr. King, who hated the triple evils of militarism, racism, and poverty, and contrasted that to the politicians who, on one hand, will wax eloquent about Dr. King and then vote for another $1 trillion military bill and more private prisons and gut food stamps. And then I talk about the need to act. And when I talk about act, I don't just mean going and marching in the streets and going to the ballot box, but by investing in Black voices. And I listed about 8 or 10 Black scholars and activists and lawyers and faith leaders that I personally subscribe to with my finances to actually elevate their work. Because it's one thing for me to say, hey, Richard, you're a good dude, and I'm going to buy you a cup of coffee. It's another thing to say I'm going to invest in work and resources. Money makes the world go round. As much as we don't want it to, money makes the world go round. And we need to elevate and invest. So I listed about 8 or 10 Black voices that I monthly subscribe to. And there's hundreds of comments now of the Black voices that they support and that they want others to support. It's a beautiful comment section, one of the best you'll find out there.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break, Qasim. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM, 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Hear that? That's what having fewer hot flashes and night sweats can sound like. Veoza is the #1 prescribed hormone-free treatment FDA approved for moderate to severe vasomotor symptoms, also known as hot flashes and night sweats, due to menopause. Veoza can cause serious side effects, including liver problems. Your doctor will do blood tests before and during treatment. Stop Veoza and call your doctor if you have symptoms of liver problems, such as feeling more tired than usual, decreased appetite, nausea, vomiting, itching, yellowing of the eyes or skin, pale stool, dark urine, or stomach pain. Don't use Veoza if you have cirrhosis, severe kidney problems, kidney failure, or take CYP1A2 inhibitors. Ask your doctor about Veoza. To learn more, call 1-866-239-1637 or go to Veoza.com. That's VEOZAH.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
This is a WCPT Moment in Labor. On April 1st, California Governor Gavin Newsom raised the state's minimum wage to $20 an hour for fast food workers. And hate to break your conservative uncle's heart, but this is not leading to the downfall of businesses in California. The average hourly rate in California is $38 an hour, meaning many companies already pay more than $20 an hour. Just not many of those are fast food restaurants. And it will not kill the small business industry, as only companies with 60 or more locations will be required to pay workers $20 an hour. It's not just teenagers working in the fast food service, and it never has been, as in 2021, the average age of a fast food worker was 26 years old. But sadly, the average cost of living in California is $68,500, while McDonald's makes $25.4 billion a year, and Wendy's makes $2.18 billion a year. Just a little something you can leave in your uncle's comment section. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We are working for your rights.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
He's not here to yell. He's here to inform and maybe stir the pot. This is Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. We are hanging out with my good friend Qasim Rashid. Listen, the article that he was talking about before we went to break, and you should follow him on Substack, and most definitely check out his show on Sirius. It's entitled "My Ask of Non-Black People This Black History Month." And let me just give you guys a couple of the banner points. What is Black history? Simply put, Black history is American history. I've said that before. Qasim, thank you for validating me in that space. Education is a responsibility, not a threat. My ask of non-Black people, listen and act. Listen, another recurring failure during Black History Month is a tendency to praise leaders rhetorically while ignoring them in practice. In other words, talking about the speeches and the great things that they said, without really leaning into the work that they did. And that goes back to what Qasim was saying about shoulders we stand on. And then take action. This is also a moment that demands organization. Extremism thrives when opposition is fragmented, distracted, and unserious. Qasim, talk a little bit more about that in this moment. With all that's happening, with murdering people in the streets of Minneapolis, to what's going on in Gaza, to any of the other current issues, it all comes down to us staying connected, not being fragmented by what this administration is clearly trying to do.
This administration and every administration that's hell-bent on power. I'll start with Gaza for a second. The last 2.5 years, every single one of us who cited the Gaza Health Ministry's numbers on the numbers of Palestinians killed, we were called anti-Semitic or unjust or propagandish. They're saying these numbers, there's no way that many people were killed. And now the Israeli government has come out and said, actually, those numbers were accurate. It actually was 70,000 people killed. And my, by the way, view is this, that they're only admitting to that because they realize the new scholarship coming out pointing to more than 600,000 killed is devastatingly accurate. And they're saying that, well, 600,000 is a lot worse. Let's just agree to 70,000 and make it go away.
Right.
And I will tell folks, they lied to you last time. They're lying to you this time as well. Follow the data. That's one. But to your broader point, Richard, is that the goal of the super wealthy class is to keep us divided. It's the Southern strategy on steroids. The more they can keep us fighting on these culture wars, the more they can get away with whatever the hell it is they want to get away with. If there's one thing we learned from the ongoing revelations of these Epstein files, is that we need to abolish billionaires permanently. They have no functional presence in this society other than to buy elections, exploit people, hoard wealth, and destroy economies. There are no moral billionaires. I'm sorry, they're not. We need to get rid of them, every single last one of them, without exception. Because while we are struggling for scraps, 60% of Americans cannot make ends meet. That's the majority of Americans. The level of wealth and income inequality that they have is worse now than it was after the Great Depression. And the only way we're going to be able to fight back is to recognize that my enemy is not the Republican voter down the street. It's not my Republican neighbor. It's not my liberal neighbor. It's not my gay neighbor. It's not my Muslim or Jewish neighbor. My enemy are the super wealthy and powerful billionaires who continue to buy elections and want us to hate each other. Yeah. Well, we don't need to hate each other. If my kid is struggling at school, so is your kid. If your neighbor is struggling with substance abuse, so is my neighbor. We need to find ways to recognize that we can disagree on religion, on faith, on whether you should get an abortion. We can disagree on all that stuff, but we cannot disagree on the humanity of one another. And that's where I'm begging people to look past these culture wars and find ways to work together.
I've said this so many times, and I'm going to keep saying it. Last year, our 20th anniversary, Mayor Johnson was there, and he talked about, it's our responsibility and opportunity to regain our humanity and our dignity. And it starts with us recognizing, even in the worst, hardest moments, the people that are around us are our best allies if we can find ways to see what we have more in common than we do that we have apart. I know that's hard as hell for some folks. Because there's a lot of people who would hear you and me, two men of color, saying that and going, what the hell is wrong with you guys? We've been beaten down by the same folks that you want me to connect with. And, I'm not saying, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, that's the person that we need to connect with. But the broader conversation around so many people who are in the middle that are struggling, trying to figure out what the hell has happened to us. Yeah. We do have to find a way to connect with those who may, and I said this at the beginning of the show, Qasim, the fix right now to this problem is going to take all of us. And it's going to take some people that we may not necessarily have sided with in the past. But if they believe in this thing called democracy that they say that they believe in and being patriotic, then they're going to have to give up a little bit as well in this fight. Does that make sense?
And I would say what they have to give up is not even monetary. It's not their safety or security. It's just the prejudice and disinformation. And that's where I go back to one of the things that we need to engage in is education as a responsibility, not as a threat. Yeah, that's fundamentally it. And I saw this in Minnesota when I was there a couple of weeks ago, right before Alex Preddy was killed. People are both traumatized, but they're not paralyzed. They're traumatized because of ICE terrorizing them, but they're not paralyzed. They're active. They're working together. They're taking care of each other across faith, culture, and creed. It's a beautiful thing. It's why I think Trump is so actively attacking Minnesota, because he wants to crush this potential resistance there. But if we can deploy that model nationwide, ICE's effectiveness will go down dramatically.
Yeah, and we do have to just defunding is not the word here. It's getting, it's completely getting rid of ICE. We don't need excising. We don't need them to recover. We don't need them to go through therapy to figure out what their problem is. They need to done. I mean, and it's kind of my position on guns. And I know that many people say Richard's crazy. Unless you're law enforcement, if we want to stop school shootings and some of the other tragedies of guns, then, just go back. Let's start with the assault weapons ban. That's an easy one to get to have some immediate impact. I kind of put that in the same conversation with ICE. Let's just get rid of them. We don't need them. They're not fixing anything.
What I keep saying is that the problem with untrained fascists is not that they're untrained, it's that they're fascists.
That's fascists, right? Wait, how are you going to train the fascistness out of them?
Right. Well, you're going to make them more lethal fascists is all you're going to do. Like, we don't need that here. And look, people say, well, what are you going to do if you get rid of ICE? We didn't have ICE for the first 225 years of this country's history, and we were just fine. They have no role to play here. And what I point out to them is, remove the label ICE for a second. If I told you there's an organization that has tens of thousands of credible, documented cases of child sexual abuse, that has thousands of cases of torture, that has hundreds of cases of people being killed in custody, that has hundreds of documented cases of women being raped, why would you continue to fund that organization? Because what I just described to you is, in fact, ICE. We have tens of thousands of cases of child sexual abuse that were never prosecuted, by the way, by Trump or Biden. Why are we continuing to fund this organization? We need to abolish it. You cannot reform that. You just cannot.
Can't reform it. Can't fix that. You can get rid of it, but you can't fix it.
That's right.
Qasim Rashid is just awesome to hang out with you, man. Let's address this.
Brother.
Is his SiriusXM show. You all need to check that out. You need to follow him. If you're looking for somebody that's going to say something that is going to tick off other people and you wish you had said it, that's who Qasim Rashid is. Thanks.
That's a comment of the year.
I'm serious though, man. I'm not joking when I say that. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're going to have you back on the show in a few weeks. Always good to be with you. Stay safe. Stay as warm as you can. And we'll talk to you soon, okay?
God bless, brother.
All right, you too, man. 773-763-9278 is the number. Stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. And as I always say, take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Moving and eating better every day can help make you and your kids healthier. Search We Can online to find out more. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
Stephanie Miller here. If eating is stressing you out, you're not alone. There's so much confusion around food. One day something's good for you, the next day it's not. No wonder digestion can feel chaotic. What I learned from the Tummy Whisperer is reassuring your body isn't broken, it's communicating. It needs proper guidance. That's why I trust Renee Barish at Digestive Health Solutions as a certified digestive health specialist. Renee works one-to-one, helping people make sense of their symptoms without extremes or overwhelming them. If you've changed your diet and feel the same or worse, if bloating, reflux, constipation, diarrhea, and low energy are running your life, Renee will help you connect the dots. Digestion will calm down, food can feel easy again, and you don't have to figure it all out alone. You've got the Tummy Whisperer. Learn more at thetummywhisperer.com or call Renee at 847-207-2034. One more time, that's 847-207-2034. Let's get you feeling better.
File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. AP correspondent Haya Panjwani reports on Don Lemon's arrest.
Don Lemon says that about a dozen federal agents came to his Los Angeles hotel to arrest him last week. The independent journalist told ABC late-night host Jimmy Kimmel that's even though his attorney had told authorities he would turn himself in to face federal civil rights charges. Lemon said on the show Jimmy Kimmel Live that sending the agents was a waste of resources. Lemon was indicted last week on federal civil rights charges over his coverage of an anti-immigration enforcement protest that disrupted a service at a Minnesota church. Lemon's attorney has said Lemon plans to plead not guilty. He told reporters he will not be silenced after he was released in response to a judge's orders. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton have agreed to testify in a House investigation into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer had been pressing for criminal contempt of Congress charges against both Clintons for defying a congressional subpoena, when attorneys for the Clintons emailed the oversight panel staff saying the pair would accept Comer's demands. Authorities believe Today Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother was taken against her will. 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie was last seen Saturday night at her home in the Tucson, Arizona area. Yuma County Sheriff Chris Nano says Guthrie was of sound mind and had limited mobility. Officials don't believe she left on her own. NASA says it will now target a March launch of its New Moon rocket after running into exasperating fuel leaks during a make-or-break test a day earlier. The space agency said the launch delay will, quote, allow teams to review data and conduct a second wet dress rehearsal before the flight test. More on the story at apnews.com. This is AP News.
AP Sports, I'm Gethin Coolbaugh. Alperen Şengün stuffed the stat sheet with 39 points and 16 rebounds to pace the 31-17 Rockets past the Pacers 118-114. Houston coach Ime Udoka.
Got the same great looks and cashed them in tonight, but obviously felt a little bit better, had a little more bounce in the step.
Tyrese Maxey's 7 threes and 29 points led the 76ers to their fourth straight win, 128-113 over the Clippers. College hoops, Arizona remains number 1, while Michigan jumped UConn for number 2 in the men's AP Top 25 poll. Louisville rose to 6th, and UConn and UCLA are numbers 1 and 2 in the women's poll. MLB, the Mariners acquired All-Star Brendan Donovan from the Cardinals in a 3-team trade with the Rays, and NHL, Barry Trotz is retiring as general manager of the Predators. Gethin Coolbaugh, AP Sports.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies become mostly sunny here for today. We'll see a high into the upper 20s. Winds out of the north around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, a slight chance for some snow here late with increasing cloud cover, a low near 13. By Wednesday, a slight chance for snow early. Skies will become mostly sunny, high around 27. And Thursday, cloudy skies, high around 32 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 21.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning attorney who drafts living trusts and wills for my clients. You have probably heard my ads here on WCPT for the last few years. Your fellow listeners, when we have completed their plans, say, I wish I had done this sooner. It wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be. We can complete your estate plan within 30 days or less. There are certainly decisions that need to be made, but my 30-plus years of experience will help guide you through this process. There may never be a perfect time to start, but whenever I'm asked when is the best time, my answer is always the same. Now is the best time, while it is on your mind. Being able to tell your family that you have an estate plan in place, that all the details have been taken care of, will be a great relief to both yourself and those you care for the most. Our initial consultation is without charge, and there is no obligation. My phone number is 847-996-0496, and my website is moretlawoffice.com, spelled M-O-R-E-E. I look forward to speaking with you.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers, so don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-690-6464. That's 800-690-6464. Again, that's 800-690-6464.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
In there prominently because President Donald Trump is mentioned more than 1,000 times. And the New York Times found 5,300 files with references to Trump and more than 38,000 references to Trump, his wife, and Mar-a-Lago. 38,000 references. That seems low, frankly.
All right, our friend's here. Hooray. Hi, little red-haired girl.
Hello. Jolie on the show. That's what we're waiting for.
Chris is in a dancing mood.
Yes.
It's going to be a good day.
Who's our favorite whore? She's a whore.
Yeah. I didn't meet my wife through Epstein. That was a nice little tidbit. That's not a sweet love story.
I think we knew that, though, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we did know that. Isn't there a lot of stuff we knew in here?
Yeah. On Epstein's plane, I think it was.
Yeah.
Wasn't that where the photo shoot was?
By the way, did Trump say again he's never been to Epstein's? He's on the flight log. How many times? Like, he just...
I think they consummated their relationship on Epstein's plane.
That's what, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're calling me a whore. Fine. Okay. Anyway.
Jon Stewart was in the Epstein files. Did you see that last